of the things I love about this country is the regionality that comes into every part of what we call Japanese cuisine. You can go on a ferry across a channel or from one prefecture to another, and it's completely different. We're on our way to Tohoku now, which is one of the more agricultural areas of Japan, and the cuisine there is the cuisine of the people.
This time, I'll be catching up with a family who caught the $1 million fish.
Absolutely freezing, and there's water spraying in my face every turn.
And exploring the onsen culture of the north.
Feels like the most natural thing in the world.
There'll be an attempt at a record.
Losing the will to live.
And a tale of resilience after the Japan tsunami.
And over there's still the remnants of the logs where Kono-san built a fire to keep everyone warm.
People of the Tohoku region are known as friendly, down-to-earth country folk. But it's funny how sometimes peasant food can become the food of kings. I'm talking now about tuna sashimi. And here in Oma, in the Aomori prefecture, their tuna is regarded as the best in the world. So taking into account the quality and strict quotas, tuna here can fetch astronomical prices. The first fish of this year's season went for $1.5 million at auction. And they didn't pocket the lot, but it was a life changer for the family who caught it.
まあ最初はもう全く信じられなかったっていう、嘘じゃないかっていうのが。
Kaoru Takeuchi and his son Daisuke are regarded as fishing legends. They're so famous they've opened a sashimi restaurant so tourists can meet them and try their Oma tuna. And as more and more come, Mrs. Takeuchi has learned to apply her home cooking skills to a bigger crowd.
Of course, in Japan, tuna is not just tuna. We've got different cuts of tuna here, all from the same animal. This is the akami, or the red meat, which is the leanest cut, not much fat to it. And this is the chutoro, or medium fatty tuna. But the superstar is this one. This is the otoro, or the fatty tuna from the belly portion of the fish. And it's basically the wagyu of tuna. It's marbled with fat and it's got a mouthfeel that really melts away when you eat it. And of course with sashimi, you have to have wasabi. And that's what this is. It's a little gnarly green root that's quite different from the wasabi that we might taste because there's different varieties of wasabi. And sometimes the wasabi that we get is just horseradish that's been dyed green. And the thing about it is, it's not just this heat, it's also got a lot of flavour to it. Of course there's that pungency, but the flavour of fresh wasabi can't be beat. On the boat, they caught the most expensive fish in the history of the world. Absolutely freezing, and there's water spraying in my face every turn. どうやっていい漁師になりますか？
いい漁師になるにはもう集中力が一番です。魚をマグロを取るっていう気持ちがマグロに伝われば取れます。
We're not after tuna today. This is flounder season, but there's a problem.
We're in a bit of a holding pattern at the moment. The current's flying along and there's really, really bad winds coming in. So we're waiting to see whether or not we can pull in these nets.
なんで一人で2人で引っ張るのが3人のチームの2人で引っ張ったらいい。
Even though they risk losing their nets, they go for it. It's not a disaster and there are a decent number of flounder, but only enough to cover costs.
Watching these guys work, they're working so hard every day. It's not all about throwing a line out and pulling in $1 million fish. They're there on their hands and knees, rafting through all of these fish and putting them into baskets. It's a tough job.
Takeuchi-san's given me some of his tuna to cook, and so I'm going to do it in a very Japanese way. Teriyaki tuna jaw. Like most things in Japanese cuisine, teriyaki is very simple. Some soy sauce, 250 mils. 200 mils of mirin. And then sake, another 200 mils of that. About 80 grams of sugar. And you can vary the amount of sugar depending on your taste. And I'll heat that only until the sugar's dissolved. We don't want to bring it to the boil or anything like that because those sugars then will start to caramelize. We want that to happen on the fish. It's dissolved now and that's all there is to it. Take it off the heat. Here's the main event, the tuna jaw. Takeuchi-san's family's been fishing for tuna for generations and they never waste a part of it. The jaw in Japanese is called kama. It's this part here of the fish. And the word kama also means sickle or scythe in Japanese. You can see by the shape of it. It's kind of that round sickle shape. Some salt over both sides. And we'll put it onto the grill. You can see how tough this skin is. It's like leather, so it's completely inedible. We'll grill it skin side down so that we can blacken that skin and pull it off later on. And we'll come back to him later. While that's all going there, I'll get started on some of our other accompaniments. This is a negi, Japanese bunching onion, sometimes called a Welsh onion, similar to our leeks. I'm going to cut these into what's called shiraga negi, or white hair onion. We'll leave that for about 10 or 15 minutes and it'll start to curl up on itself, give us a really nice garnish. Really nice. Here's a tip for you. When you're peeling ginger, get around all of those shapes into the nooks and crannies. Don't use a peeler or a knife. A teaspoon works just as well, especially when it's young. Now for some grated ginger. Another fantastic accompaniment for teriyaki. I think we're about ready to start turning our tuna jaw now. We'll flip it a few times while it is cooking to make sure our glaze gets all over it. You can see how blackened that skin's getting. We're getting close to having our jaw cooked, so we can start to brush it with our teriyaki glaze. Using this binchotan is wonderful because it burns very hot and very clean. That smoke that you're seeing is not smoke coming off charcoal, it's the smoke of the fat that's dripping down off this tuna. So the flavour you get isn't like a burnt barbecue, it's just smoky tuna. This is where food for me starts to get very exciting. Our tuna jaw is lovely and glazed now, so we can pull it off our grill. It really does smell and look amazing. A few of our garnishes. It's a shiso leaf, also called perilla. Some people say it's like a Japanese mint or a Japanese basil. It does have a smell similar to a peppery mint. Some of our grated ginger as well. Just pop that on top of our shiso leaf. And you can see our shiraga negi. See how much that's curled. Drain the water off that. Give it a good shake. And plonk them on top of our tuna jaw. And there we are, teriyaki tuna jaw. Onsens, or hot springs in Japan, are just about a national obsession. Where we might get away to a winery or something like that for a weekend, the Japanese will travel to every part of this country for the best mineral waters.
This is Nyuto Onsen. The white water is caused by minerals, and this pool operates at certain times of the day as a mixed onsen for men and women.
There's a lot of emphasis on onsen etiquette in Japan, but there's really only 3 things you need to remember. The bath's for soaking, not washing, so wash yourself before you get in. 2, always bring your towel. And 3, leave your bathing suit at home. When I first came to Japan, the thought of getting naked with a bunch of strangers and taking a bath was a bit weird, but after a while, when you've got that towel on your head and the hot water's soaking all your bones and aches away, it feels like the most natural thing in the world.
Onsen culture is much more than simply soaking in hot springs. Food plays a big part in the experience. Many onsens serve kaiseki, or formal cuisine, but here in the north, they do things a little differently.
This is the kind of dish that brings home an important point about Japanese cuisine, and that's that hyperlocality. You know, you can go to the next town or the next prefecture and the cuisine's completely different. Here in Tohoku, we've got these potatoes that are just from over here and the miso from soybeans they picked themselves. And it's not an affectation, it's not like a chef trying to get people into their restaurant or anything like that. This is the way people have been eating for decades and centuries.
The star of this dish are these yama no imo, or mountain potatoes. They're grated first into a sticky paste and left overnight. The chef then prepares a base of pork belly fried in butter, and to that he adds chips of gobo, or burdock root. He adds konnyaku, a type of yam jelly, and then hot water. After skimming, a miso paste is gradually added through a sieve. Then mirin. And now those mountain potatoes are skillfully squeezed into balls and placed in the pot. Finally, shimeji mushrooms and Japanese leeks are added and allowed to simmer for 5 minutes. The nabe is garnished with Japanese parsley and served piping hot.
And the taste of the dish itself is wonderful. It's got a real earthiness to it from that miso that they've hand-picked themselves. The soybeans here, and then that mountain potato is not as sticky as it looks when it's raw. It's actually light and pillowy and fluffy, like a perfectly made gnocchi. This is how the people up here in Tohoku eat. You can count me in.
The fact is, Japan's gastronomic diversity is driven by several factors. What's grown locally, historical influences, and sometimes it's all about the marketing. This squid tank was something I came across back in Hokkaido.
Poor little guy, I feel a bit sorry for him.
And it seemed like a good idea at the time.
It's going to cut it up for me now. The freshest squid sashimi you'll ever get. This is where our food comes from. A little hard to look at, to be honest.
No doubt one of my more bizarre food experiences.
Not sure I'm entirely happy about eating this, but still wriggling a little bit there. It's fresh, it's pretty good.
But this next one is for the more competitive among us. I've travelled to Morioka, the capital of Iwate Prefecture, to a restaurant famous for gluttony.
In Japan, you're never far from a unique noodle experience, and this is something I've never tried before. Part lunch, part deathmatch. I've got a bunch of condiments and toppings here, and Yamaguchi-san here is the toughest waitress in the place, and she's got quite a few bowls of noodles for me. Let's get started. Onegaishimasu.
This is wanko soba, and the idea is to eat as many bowls of soba noodles as possible. The record is held by a Japanese woman who ate over 500 bowls in one sitting.
Slow down.
My waitress Yamagishi-san is more like a drill sergeant, pushing and pushing for me to eat more and faster.
Try a bit of this spicy condiment here. Oh, that was a good idea. Now my mouth's burning as well as being assaulted. Someone tells me that Yamagishi-san is in equal parts encouraging me and mocking me at this point.
Soba noodles are eaten all over Japan. But this style of wanko, or little bowl soba, is unique to Morioka. And I'm not really sure how serving mouthfuls of noodles with condiments turned into a grueling competition, but let me tell you that once you start and your waitress is egging you on, it's impossible to stop until you absolutely have to.
I'm starting to really not like Yamagishi-san very much. I'm losing the will to live. I'm up to 60 already. No, you're just laughing at me. Well, you're not getting a tip.
Nowadays, wanko soba is a Morioka institution, and it's evolved into an international sport. This could be my proudest achievement.
Well, that was delicious.
I am now officially Australian champion of wanko soba.
My plaque, my accomplishment of 112 bowls. I'll hang this from something with pride. Certificate of what I've achieved as well. But of course, the real proof is right here. Manga or comic books in Japan are such an important part of the culture, and this one's one of my favourites. It's called Oishimbo, and it's about gourmet foods and things that happen in the world of food here in Japan. This story is a particularly special one. It's about the Kono family who've been making soy sauce for over 200 years.
Hirofumi and Kazuyoshi Kono know soy sauce.
赤いと同じだからな。だから常温に戻れば戻るほど香りが立つ。
In fact, their sauce was judged Japan's best in 2010. But then in 2011, the town of Rikuzen Takata was destroyed in the Japanese tsunami. And so too was their factory.
津波の前は工場はここ。
そうです。はい、ここに200年前から続く蔵が。
For years, the Kono family had trained their staff to prepare for a tsunami by racing up the hill to this local shrine. When a 13-metre wall of water hit Rikuzen Takata, almost half the population died, and the entire town was destroyed. However, because of their training, all but one of Kono-san's staff survived.
こんなに寒かったんですか？
そうですね。寒くて雪が降ってきましたね。
One of the things that's really you don't get from TV is that you watch the footage on the news, you don't realise how cold it is now, and it was the same time of year that the tsunami came. In fact, Kono-san just said the snow was falling. And over there, there's still the remnants of the logs where Kono-san built a fire to keep everyone warm. And he was telling me before that all he could think was, how is he going to feed his employees?
英語でそのファミリーってありますけど、ファミリービジネスってありますけど、もともとやはり八木沢商店は一緒にその田んぼでお米を作ったり、畑で野菜を作ったり、原料の大豆を作ったり、一緒に社員と一緒にやって、お昼ご飯も一緒に食べてたんですね。 そういう関係の中から人間の絆ができてきて、それが、震災後そういう、つながりがどんどん広がっていって、今日本全国から、ご支援をいただきながら再建をしている途中です。
After the disaster, the entire country rallied around the people of Tohoku, including this family business. With all of their stock washed away, the Kono family's competitors supplied them with soy products, allowing them to build a new factory and continue trading. Also, one of Japan's largest department stores chose to pay more for Kono-san's products than he wanted to charge them, and the local bank manager swore a solemn oath to protect him from bankruptcy. So the business has survived, the workers have kept their jobs, and 200 years of rich culinary tradition continues.
I'm in the tea rooms at Kono-san's factory for his soy sauce. I'm going to make afternoon tea for some of his workers. We all think about Japanese food as being, you know, this refined cuisine with sushi and sashimi and all of these kinds of elegant foods. But the real soul of Japanese food and the heart of it is in the simplicity and the food of the people that we see here in Tohoku. I'm making a very, very simple dish, yaki onigiri, or grilled rice balls, with these wonderful pickles that Kono-san's people have made for me, and miso soup. Starting just with some cooked rice with wet hands, just cupping the rice and rolling it into sort of a triangular puck shape. And while I do that, I'm going to start making my basting liquid for it, just with melted butter, and also, of course, Kono-san's fantastic soy sauce. It's the reason why Kono-san's soy sauce is so good. It's brewed in the traditional way. It's fermented, it's aged, our butter's melted now, and I'll just add that into this wonderful soy sauce. And here we are, our little rice balls, ready for this charcoal grill. The aroma of this soy sauce and butter is absolutely fantastic. These onigiri will be done when they've got a nice crusty coating and it's dry and crispy on the outside, and that butter and soy sauce has gone right into the middle and soaked through all of that rice. That sound you can hear is the toasting of those rice grains, and mixed together with the soy sauce and the butter, it's got almost a nutty smell of popcorn or something like that.
Miso soup is also a part of today's lunch. And to make a good miso soup, you must start with hot dashi stock. Add wakame seaweed and tofu cubes, followed by finely sliced spring onions. Finally, using a small sieve, mix in miso paste to taste. After you've added the miso, be careful not to bring it to the boil, as this will spoil the taste and texture of the soup. You really can't get anything more authentically Japanese than this meal. It's simple and it's pure, and it's what Japanese workers have been eating for hundreds of years. To be able to make my version for these people is truly a privilege. I'm heading back up into the hills to show you a rice dish unique to Akita Prefecture. Kiritampo. Boiled rice is moistened with salt water and pounded into a rough paste. It's then moulded onto sticks. It's as simple as food gets, and it was originally a way of preserving rice for the men when they went off to work or to hunt in the forest.
Kiritampo is eaten in mainly one of two ways, either in a nabe, in a hot pot like this cooked over the fire, or just like they are, spread with a little bit of miso. And this is miso mixed with some soy sauce, some honey, and sugar. It gives it a wonderful, sweet and slightly salty umami flavour. I always remember the first time I had kiritampo. I just moved to Tokyo, and a friend of mine who was from the Akita region, I was helping her move house. I remember we'd been moving all day and it was hot and we were exhausted, and then all of a sudden at 5 o'clock on the dot to the new house turned up some kiritampo and a slab of cold beer. And I remember thinking, what a country.
Next time, I travel to my wife's hometown, Kanazawa. It's in a region famous for great rice, seafood and sake.
As it ages, it'll become rounder and brighter and softer.
I visit my favourite sushi master.
It's just delicious.
And venture into my mother-in-law's kitchen.
Ooh.
最初はもう全く信じられなかったっていう、嘘じゃないかっていうのが。
Kaoru Takeuchi and his son Daisuke are regarded as fishing legends. They're so famous they've opened a sashimi restaurant so tourists can meet them and try their Oma tuna. And as more and more come, Mrs. Takeuchi has learned to apply her home cooking skills to a bigger crowd.
Of course, in Japan, tuna is not just tuna. We've got different cuts of tuna here, all from the same animal. This is the akami, or the red meat, which is the leanest cut, not much fat to it. And this is the chutoro.
There'll be an attempt at a record.
Losing the will to live.
And a tale of resilience after the Japan tsunami.
And over there, there's still the remnants of the logs where Kono-san built a fire to keep everyone warm. Or medium fatty tuna. But the superstar is this one. This is the otoro, or the fatty tuna from the belly portion of the fish. And it's basically the wagyu of tuna. It's marbled with fat and it's got a mouthfeel that really melts away when you eat it. And of course with sashimi, you have to have wasabi. And that's what this is. It's a little gnarly green root that's quite different from the wasabi that we might taste, because there's different varieties of wasabi. And sometimes the wasabi that we get is just horseradish that's been dyed green. And the thing about it is, it's not just this heat, it's also got a lot of flavour to it. Of course,
one of the things I love about this country is the regionality that comes into every part of what we call Japanese cuisine. You can go on a ferry across a channel or from one prefecture to another, and it's completely different. We're on our way to Tohoku now, which is one of the more agricultural areas of Japan. And the cuisine there is the cuisine of the people.
This time, I'll be catching up with the family who caught the $1 million fish.
Absolutely freezing, and there's water spraying in my face every turn.
And exploring the onsen culture of the north.
feels like the most natural thing in the world.
The people of the Tohoku region are known as friendly, down-to-earth country folk. But it's funny how sometimes peasant food can become the food of kings. I'm talking now about tuna sashimi. And here in Oma, in the Aomori prefecture, their tuna is regarded as the best in the world. So taking into account the quality and strict quotas, tuna here can fetch astronomical prices. The first fish of this year's season went for $1.5 million at auction. And they didn't pocket the lot, but it was a life changer for the family who caught it.